I can't believe it. I can't believe Chelsea won that game. 2023, the worst year ever supporting Chelsea, at least in my life. And I just thought that was like the typical Chelsea 2023 game where we actually played pretty well. Originally, I thought we were going to get done by just an individual mistake, and we go out and it's really depressing and everyone feels depressed. But then to go to penalties, to have that emotion, for the players to get through that, for Kieran Trippier once again, like he did when he's still a Spurs player because he loves giving away goals at Stamford Bridge and he likes helping us in penalty shootouts. And Chelsea are through to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. High emotion. And I think it's always weird with a game like that, especially it going straight into penalties. And now we're on this like adrenaline high to really analyze the game in a more reasoned way. But actually, my general feeling was I think Chelsea played well. And I think Chelsea at the very least deserved a draw. I think really Chelsea probably on the balance of play should have won the game without an individual mistake. Or it would have just gone to penalties at 0-0. But, that's the madness of football, isn't it? And for Pochettino and for Stamford Bridge and for these players, I hope it's a really, really good night. And for Petrovic, of course, when you're a goalkeeper in a penalty shootout, that's what it can bring you. It can bring you a heroic moment, as Kepa had in his first season, as others have down the years, even Rob Green in pre-season friendlies. And I thought the quality of the penalties, if we just talk about that, were incredible from Chelsea players. I was just outstanding technique for all of them. I mean, Cole Palmer, Conor Gallagher, Christopher Nkunku. What a great way to introduce yourself to Chelsea fans with that quality of penalty. And MUDRYK, MUDRYK really turns out to be the hero in a lot of ways tonight. And he's got a lot of criticism and stick for his raw, kind of erratic nature. But the penalty he took in that moment was so key and proved to be kind of the winning penalty for Chelsea because, of course, Matt Ritchie would then miss and have his chance saved. I think this is massive. For Chelsea to salvage anything positive from this season, to feel like this season has been any sort of success, we knew the cup competitions were going to be huge. And I think for both clubs, this was a really big game. I think you could tell the intensity and almost the pressure throughout this game. And I think that the fact that Chelsea have been able to somehow get out with a win in a really dramatic circumstances, I just hope it gives the club the lift it really needs at the end of this absolutely atrocious year. It doesn't fix all the problems. We haven't won this competition, and most likely we're going to be drawing Liverpool after they beat West Ham tomorrow. I mean, we're not getting Middlesbrough. That's for sure. I can guarantee you that now in the semi-final. But I think that from a mentality point of view, from a character point of view, from a unity point of view, I really hope that, this in particular is seen as that. And I don't think we're being silly. And of course, I'm caught up in the emotion. Why wouldn't I be seeing Chelsea win? Going back into the performance and the starting lineup, I was a little bit surprised at the negativity people had at the lineup in terms of saying, being concerned that Chelsea would run out of energy in the second half. That's actually not the way it played out at all. But, people having to go that we've gone so strong or so similar to what was there on Saturday. And to me, I just don't get it. If Pochettino had heavily rotated tonight against a good Newcastle team, people would have complained. And that potentially could have cost Chelsea a place in the semi-final, if Chelsea didn't have better players out there. And, to me, it made a load of sense. I think the one change of Enzo coming in for, Mykhailo Mudryk, I feel it was obvious, and then Enzo goes off, ironically, early. Colwill does as well. There are, of course, Chelsea in 2023, of course, there are injury issues that come out of this game that we're going to have to see how they're analysed over the next few days and how detrimental they're going to be to Pochettino's plans over Christmas and heading into the new year. But it was just so typical Chelsea because I think in the first half, we did a lot of things right. I thought the way we controlled the ball, the way we worked it from left to right, and there were some moments when we nearly scored. I mean, Raheem Sterling, somehow Bruno Guimaraes blocks it off the line. I liked at times the way, whether it was kind of that forward ball trying to find Nicholas Jackson, who played kind of a wider role as the game went on tonight. And also when Armando Broja came on, Sterling went close a few times as well, other than that chance that got blocked. But of course, this game nearly ends for Chelsea because of an individual error. and it's a mix-up. It's really poor from Benoit Badiashile, and it's such a shame because I think rightly I have been someone, like many Chelsea fans, that have given him credit, that think he's actually a really good signing. And just to be hit on the counter like that was just so poor. And actually, when you look at the entirety of the game, the fact that Newcastle basically did nothing else is really frustrating from a performance point of view, that Chelsea are then put into that kind of desperate, it feels like, situation to try and get something out of the game. So, that in itself is of some frustration. And then, of course, as the half progressed, I was concerned about, of course, Colwill going off injured. I felt Chelsea, especially going into half-time, and then Pochettino bringing on Gusto, not Maatsen, and he puts Gusto on the left instead of the right. And it just, I thought Chelsea actually early in the second half were really poor. I thought the passing was atrocious. It looked like Chelsea didn't have composure at a time when Newcastle were flagging. I think Newcastle were majorly flagging tonight. I think that's what kind of meant that they sat in such a low block. It looked like a team that have kind of been worn down by injuries as well. And they had another couple of players go off injured tonight. Their squad just does not look capable of handling this demand of fixtures. And so I did think the game was there for Chelsea to get, but it's always that thing with Chelsea of, are they going to shoot themselves in the foot, which they did in the first half, or are we actually going to create a good enough quality chance? And if we do create a good enough quality chance, who's going to put it in the back of the net? The ironic thing is, despite all of that build-up and pressure and Nkunku coming on and the sense that Chelsea were going to make at least one more chance, it is Kieran Trippier who becomes Chelsea's great creator tonight, with a ball from Gusto to the back post. No one's there as usual, but for once Chelsea get a bit of luck and fortune. And real credit to MUDRYK, who I don't think was having the best appearance, to be honest. But to be in the right place at the right time, to be right on it and score a big goal for himself personally that then takes it to penalties. And of course, Chelsea win on penalties in a fashion that, it does, especially at that end, it did, made me think of, say, the Frankfurt win at that end when Eden Hazard scored. Just seeing that kind of emotion, that, one step beyond playing after the full-time whistle, those celebrations, we just haven't seen that kind of unbridled and chaotic joy a lot at Chelsea for quite a while. And I think it's valuable to point out and to celebrate it and to really think about it when it is here, because this is what Chelsea should be doing on a regular basis. This is the sense that Chelsea should be at a much higher level than they have been. It should not be acceptable for a club of our finances, the amount we spent, to be so dull and to be so joyless for large periods of not only this season but also last season, obviously. So I guess that, for Pochettino, and it's the thing with coaching and elite football and, percentages and moments of fortune, that at times you do need a bit of luck. There is an alternative universe where that game just ends 1-0 to Newcastle. Chelsea go out, everyone feels depressed. I was just, before the penalties actually happened, I was seeing people who had clearly just been commenting this before the MUDRYK equaliser were already sort of saying, I want to see Pochettino gone. This is all awful. It's the end of the world. Now, does that mean that the last couple of minutes of that game plus the penalty shootout, does that completely, reshape your opinions? I'm not sure. I'm still not of the belief that the coach is the problem here. But, it does say a lot about, as much as we talk about tactics, tonight was actually defined in goals by two calamitous errors that led to goals directly, and then a penalty shootout, which does have technique, does have psychology, but there is, it's not the same as a 90-minute football game, and I don't want to call it like a lottery, because it's not. I think Chelsea won the lottery actually by taking first, because the percentages are actually in your favour when you take first in a penalty shootout, even though Newcastle had it at their end. So we are through. It keeps things going. Excited to see who we potentially get. I still think it's going to be Liverpool, or it'll be one of the tougher teams, I'm sure, who get through in this draw. But I really hope the team can build on this now and use the momentum. And I think personally for MUDRYK and Petrovic, as young players who've been doubted, especially MUDRYK, I really hope that for him is kind of a landmark night, even though, it wasn't him taking it past 5 players and smacking it in the top corner. It was still a big goal. And of course, Nkunku returning is also big for Chelsea's attack. those are my thoughts. I'm going to try and get some rest and try and go to sleep because I'm filled with adrenaline, as I'm sure many of you are now. If you've enjoyed the content tonight, please do hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Follow me across the socials at SonOfChelsea. Got more content coming out over the week before we get to that Wolves game, and then of course Christmas and into New Year. I'll see you again very soon. All the best. Up the Chelsea.